Hey, everybody, we're back for another episode of Finding Nirvana with Angela and me, Kristen. And the way me and Angela know each other is from being former bodybuilders. We and then stumbling upon this journey of twin flame and divine counterpart and spiritual awakenings, and that's how we ended up reconnecting again. And we've just been having endless conversations about what that journey has been about for both of us, and here we are. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I was like, it's what we talk about is just too good to not share.
Where?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But
Absolutely.
but girls, so we were talking about like when we first were on this journey about like spiritual awakenings, because I feel like that's kind of embedded in any kind of divine soulmate journey, is that there's usually a catalyst that will get you onto this journey. Do you feel like for you it was a person, or was it maybe an experience you had, with your twin that like, or sorry, with your divine counterpart that had you have a spiritual awakening?
For me, it was him. It was us separating the first time. It's the first time. It was us separating the first time. And I was just going over everything in my head. And I'm like, how am I back in the same spot? And that's kind of what it was. I'm like, how am I here again? Like, what is going on? And then I got a read online, and I have never, because honestly, before I got onto this path, like I had heard about reads and stuff like that. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And then I was like, yeah, blah, 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 that's the work of the devil. And, it's crazy, weird juju. And like, they're woo woo people. Like, there was all there, man. I can't even, I don't even, there's just a bunch of stuff that came along with that in my brain because of how I was brought up. So,
Yeah.
and I stumbled onto this woman on TikTok, and I just kind of sat in her little room for a little bit, and it felt energetically like comfortable and warm, and just it was just comfy and snuggly. And I was like, oh, fuck it. Let me see what she's got to say. And it can't be that accurate, like whatever. This is all woo-woo crazy shit.
Yeah.
And I took a chance on it, and I was like, sure, like whatever, it can't hurt. And she read me like a fucking book. And I felt so exposed. And I was, I'm on TikTok, I'm on my phone. This person has no clue who I am. All she sees is like a name. She doesn't know me from a can of paint. Nobody can see nothing, like nothing. But I felt naked. I felt like I was standing in front of everybody naked.
Hmm.
And I was just like, well, that was a little close to home. And then I was just like, oh man. And then I was off to the races at that point. I was like, all right, I'll bite. So I went in the next day, and then the next day, and I was just like listening and learning. And then that's when I went back home. And then that's when you and I linked up, and you were just talking about all this stuff. And I was just like, what is happening? Like, and it was just this huge snowball effect, which, now I understand was the big, I've had several awakenings, but the big one, it was like the
Yeah.
big, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was me going over it was like I was in this cocoon, and I was just kind of going over everything I had done for the past 12, 15 years as an adult dating, and just how much I had treated men like shit
Wow.
and just dragged them like, oh my God. Like, I was so angry and so broken and so hurt that I had created my own self-fulfilling prophecy. And so I was all the pieces were coming together in the puzzle, all the dots were being connected. Things were just clicking, and I thought I was losing my mind. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay, this is insane. And I started hearing things, seeing things, experiencing things. And you're talking about DFs and twin flames. And I'm like, I don't know what is happening. And I literally thought I was going insane. Like I was like, this can't, like, what? And everything is a lie. Like I was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. That's a spiritual awakening for sure.
It was in, oh my gosh.
Wow.
So it was him and then the read. And
Mm.
then and then you kind of catapulted it. And then, I sent you the photo and I was like, I don't know. And you were just like, oh, that's interesting. You guys look a lot alike, like this face structure. And I was just like, huh. And I never really noticed. And I was like, oh, that's really weird. And then
Yeah.
all the things. So it was actually like a combined effort of how it happened for me. That big one, my come to Jesus moment, my whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
that was for me. And yeah, and so that's why I was wondering if you had the same, like, boom.
You know, I yours, yours was profound because I didn't realize that it happened like that for you in like such a like one thing after another kind of way, where you definitely couldn't ignore that that was happening to you. I had a series of spiritual awakenings from the time I was like 21, and I'll just talk about that. When I was in college and I was 21, I just randomly got this feeling that I should be eating healthier, that I needed to cut off all of my chemically straightened hair and go natural, that I needed to be more convicted about the choices I was making in life and whether it was truly wholesome. Like it just was something that just came upon me. It was really interesting. It was like the sun shining on you one day, like I shouldn't be doing this and I shouldn't be doing that. And
Right.
people could say, oh, maybe it was the college professors, how liberal they are and all that. And it really wasn't that. It was just like I woke up one day and felt like I needed to be doing better. And I can't really describe it. Maybe I was, outside in the sun more than usual or something. But I remember it was my 21st birthday. And when I came home for spring break, and my birthday just happened to fall on spring break, as soon as I came home from Purdue, because I went to Purdue University. And I, immediately, as soon as I landed, I jumped in my car and I headed down to the hair salon, and I got all my hair chopped off. And when I came back home, my dad, he was so dramatic about it. He needed to, when he saw my hair, he's like, I got to go take a walk. Kristen, I didn't know you were going to cut it that short. Even my mom, it was just like, it was so dramatic, and I mean, it was this haircut. I mean, and I mean, it wasn't the 1990s,
Right.
where, you would, but haircuts and, different things we could do nowadays could indicate something else related to your personality, but, and I think the haircut that I got could have possibly done that, but it wasn't even about that. I really was being true to myself,
Right.
and it was just one of those things where I was like, you know what, I need to start from scratch. I've been living according to other people's wants for me. And it was my parents' wants for me to have chemically straightened hair. It wasn't their want for me to be who God made me to be, So that was me
Interesting.
starting to shed some of those skins. So for me, I had a lot to shed. you
Wow.
know this journey catapulted that definitely to me being able to truly see what was going on inside of me from the outside. And I feel like that's the whole point of having a divine mirror, is like showing you, this is who you really are, though, and you can finally see your shadow. Whereas in other situations and in other relationships that can be really feel good, you don't really, sometimes don't get the opportunity to go that deep. Hence why I think the journey can be very dramatic, very heartbreaking, very molding, very break you down to build you up, kind of,
Right.
that kind of a cycle. But yeah, for me, it started in college. It was like, this has been a journey, man, girl. Like since 2007, I've been
That's crazy.
on, an awakening journey, definitely from 2007. And then it just kept on getting deeper and deeper and deeper. The rabbit hole kept growing larger and larger and larger. I kept on meeting certain people along the way. I kept on having different sci-fi experiences. And yes, like you, I met, various readers and paranormal specialists all kinds of sci-fi spiritual people along the way that I needed to meet at the time that I did, because of the
Mhm.
things that were going on, the kinds of spiritual warfare I went through, the kinds of spiritual experiences I was having when I was pregnant, when I wasn't pregnant, when, like when I'm just moving through life and going through different cycles, stuff that I
Right.
didn't know that I was going to need, people that I didn't know that I was going to need to help me break certain levels of spiritual warfare, and so it's been, whew, it has been a journey. And then the divine counterpart part just further, you know, catapulted me into really seeing who it is that I really am and who I'm meant to become. Because,
Right.
in times when I may have been feeling like I was belittling myself and playing small, it was
Mhm.
always people that were in this divine counterpart community that would come to me and say, Kristen, you need to be doing more, or you
Right.
know too much, you've been through too much, you
Right.
have too many experiences not to share more. Or it was my counterpart saying to me, I know when you're ready, you're going to do, A, B, C, D, E, F, and it's just like, I know you are this. And it was always people saying to me, I know you're more, I know you're more. And this, whatever situation I would be going through, they would say, this, you don't belong there. That shouldn't be
Mm.
happening to you. But I'm like, but it is, so,
Right. You're like,
you
that's
could be,
great. Thanks.
thanks,
But
but
here I
I
am.
think that's part of the journey, girl. I know even with bodybuilding, there were so many triumphs and then so many times where you could just feel so low,
Oof.
and I think that's where you and I met, is that on that level of, we're being physically judged, yet we're working so hard,
And
and
what's crazy? I was thinking about that yesterday or today. I don't know. My days, my days run together. And I was just thinking how interesting it is how you and I met and then we reconnected in 2014. Like you just fell off the face of the planet for a little bit. And I was just like, oh, Kristen disappeared. And then you like reappeared. And then I was competing and like, poof, like you were there. And it was so weird and so random that like you happened to be exactly there at that
yeah,
time in Vegas. And
yeah,
then
Vegas.
I know in Vegas of all places. And then fast forward, we reconnected and within a month of us reconnecting again, that's when the spiritual awakening for me happened.
Yeah,
And then I came up here to the DC area and you were here. And it just so happened to work out again. And it was just so interesting. And I was just thinking, gosh, it's so crazy how there's like, this person, like, you're on yours and I'm on mine. And like, we're like
and then you
this,
collide,
and
and then
then
you
we're here.
collide.
And then and then we keep meeting on like weird places. And then now it's been what, 4 or 5 years now that it's been a consistent um
Yeah.
walking together. But like for years we were just kind of like yoink, 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 and just kind of missing, but then meeting. And it's just so interesting how that happened that way. It was just crazy. And like to think like if I could go back and just be like, by the way, you guys are gonna be like, she's gonna be reading tarot and you're gonna be doing this. If you had told me this in 2014, I would have thought you were batshit crazy.
Yeah. Girl, it's a long way from bodybuilding, but I feel like that's where it started. And you know what the start was? You reaching your maximum potential through the physical realm, right? And then through that, it
Mm-hmm.
opens up a whole portal of your emotional health, your spiritual health, all of that, because then you realize those are important too as you're going through, because you need all those to get to your physical max.
That
There's so
mental
much.
health, bodybuilding,
Yeah. And then it does something to your mental health when if you start getting body dysmorphia, I mean, there were times I felt I looked better than I did when I didn't. There was times I felt I looked worse than I did when I didn't. I mean, it was,
man, that's when people are like, I want to get into bodybuilding. I'm like,
I don't.
do
Do
you
you
have
like you? What,
yeah, exactly.
you like you as you are
Exactly.
right now? Stay that way.
Yes, do you think highly of yourself? Okay, cool, don't do it. Like, and if you hate yourself now, you'll just hate yourself more. Like,
Or and then
I,
people
ugh,
people think you have a 12 pack all the time or six pack all the time. I remember my coach saying to me, my very first one, he was like, yeah, sometimes you have and sometimes you don't. People don't realize it's just for show, and that you can try to stay that way, but then you'll end up getting a metabolic disease or syndrome. And because it's too much stress on the body
yeah,
to be paper thin all the time.
yeah. And most women we're not
Build
designed
that.
to have that,
Yeah.
period. Like, I never
You're
even got a six pack. I had the abs that just went like this. They didn't do bloop, 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 but they just cut in.
I have that too. And then I figured out some secrets about, how to get more of that. And it had a lot to do, girl. This is the thing. People think that, oh, you follow this diet and it's calories in and calories out. And it's like, no, the secret to that really is if you cleanse your organs and actually just try to be healthy, then all of that can come in. And when I say healthy, I mean truly healthy, figuring out what true health is for your body.
The holistic.
So sometimes it could be that you have to be on a mostly veggie diet all the time to do that. I mean, I don't know if people really want to do it, or if you want to be a fruits and veggie diet or a fruits
Right.
veggie diet and then add like some vegetarian, so like maybe eggs, and slowly add like meats and stuff. But I would think you would have to start, and from my experience, this is what I learned. It's like you have to work on cleansing the organs that would provide you the metabolism always that would, effectively burn anything. And a lot of times it's our organs are under so much stress, and especially having been done bodybuilding, our organs have been under so much stress that, just doing regular cleanses, whether it be a colon cleanse, a gallbladder flush, liver flush, cleansing your pancreas, cleansing your kidneys. And these are and this could all be done through foods,
Yeah.
foods and veggies, and smoothies, and combining different fruits and veggies in a smoothie could reawaken, the cleansing of those organs. And then, yeah, a six pack could come in kind of easy, and you would only have to work out 20 minutes a day. I mean, it's just about,
I'm ready
yeah,
for that one. And
yeah.
it's on this journey though. What's interesting is, when we first started talking about it, when I was first getting on this roller coaster, I and I was strapped in. I realized that, once I did shed the energetic and the spiritual weight, which
Mm,
also then led to emotional and mental weight that I was also shedding, then physical weight
yes,
started being
girl,
shed.
it's all connected. That's the crazy thing.
Absolutely.
I never
Absolutely.
I never lost so much weight, and on an emotional journey such as a so-called twin flame divine counterpart journey. I'm like, there's so many days you wake up, you don't want to eat anything. There's so
Yep.
many days you wake up, you feel empty, you feel stretched, you feel like mentally and emotionally drained, you're sick
Yep.
to your stomach
Uh,
all the time. This is not glamorous.
no. No, it's not. And I see people online, they're like, twin flame. And I'm like,
I know some days you're like, God, why did you choose me for this? Like, this is not fun.
yes. And then that brings me back to the thing that we mentioned yesterday. Um, it's not people, everybody's not built for it.
Yeah.
And I thought everyone was. I'm like, oh, that's our job. We're supposed to get every single human onto the same path too, to wake up and have the veil lifted. And then I saw something somewhere, probably a TikTok, and she was like, yeah, this ain't built. You're not. No, everyone is not built for this roller coaster.
No,
The
no.
work it takes is ridiculous. And with the twin flame, and even just having a true love, divine love connection, the work that goes into this, like, and I'm sure you have some strong thoughts, and I always love your opinion on everything. Um, but I
Oh,
always say it's like people are like, "Oh, if it's real love, it'll be easy." I'm like, "What?
mm,
Like, have you ever tried to actually like fully
un-
unconditionally love
yeah.
yourself? Just
Oof.
you. Like just you, and that's you." And
Yeah.
it's not easy. So you want to add another person in there to also learn how to love unconditionally for the rest of your life, and you think it's just going to be rainbows and unicorns?
Yeah.
Like, are you nuts? I don't I don't understand how some people could say that. They're like, yeah, it should just be super easy and just flow and da 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 da. And I'm like, just me trying to learn how to be gentle with myself and put me first and love me
Hmm.
is not that. I don't need, that's not even easy and flowing and it's not even that for me. And that's me. And I'm stuck with me from day one till day done.
Yeah.
So how can you make me feel like I'm doing something wrong if I'm working constantly? And it's like marriage is work, relationships are work, but intimate relationships, because you're adding other human beings into an equation, are work.
Hmm.
And it's like this constant ebb and flow, and it's constantly morphing, and you're constantly learning about this person and how to love them better, how to love yourself better in order to love them better. And then how to communicate to them, not only learning how to communicate, but how to communicate so they can understand you. Like, what? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's work. It is not just throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. Like, it's not. Or maybe I'm crazy and maybe it is just super easy. I don't know.
Well, you definitely find out on this journey, unconditionally loving anybody, including yourself, how easy or hard that is, and then the levels of what that looks like for you. And it
Yeah.
really, I think, a lot of it boils down to self acceptance. Like if you're hard to love yourself, a lot of times I feel it's because we lack accepting all of
Mhm.
ourselves.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. You
You
mentioned the
know,
shadow self.
the shadow stuff, yeah. And I think so much of life and your true successes in life is all about loving the you that you're in right now. And we can be so focused on the us that is ideal, the one that we want to be in, whether it's body, the ideal body we want to be in, the
Absolutely.
ideal person we want to be, the ideal confidence level we want to have, the ideal position we want to be in, how we want to present ourselves to the world, just all of that. So much of life is about our presentation to others,
Yeah.
and I was in this training, for a job that I think I might do for a while. um, and I remember one of the questions was, how do you sell yourself? And I
Mm,
was like, I was so amazed at how quickly people answered. I'm like, this is what people are doing, like it's part of life to sell yourself. I
yeah.
thought to myself, I don't need selling. I don't need
Mm,
selling. It's either
yeah.
you take it or you don't, and I'm okay with that. I didn't know it needed so much convincing. I didn't know people, spend time thinking about how they're going to sell themselves to somebody, and you know, yeah, that's something to think about. It's like
Yeah. You are
my
your product.
your yeah, or your products, yeah, or the
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
So, and I think he was asking that in regards, yes, to the product, but the way people answered was like they were the products,
Well, that's what
and
yeah, that's what yeah, you are the
that
product.
your product,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you are your product, yeah. So so then they answered like that, and that was foreign to me because I never thought about life as a strategy as far as me selling myself. Like I said before, it was more about, how am I showing up authentically.
Mm,
That was always the question for me, and in that, and putting myself in that mind realm of seeing life that way was a way to not ever lose, truly. That was a way to
okay.
not ever lose. If I'm always being authentic,
Yeah.
I can't lose,
Right.
you know but yeah, I get it.
So could you see
So
yourself as selling yourself? Because I also see that as the way you present yourself in general,
yeah,
right? It's like it's marketing.
it is yeah, it is marketing.
Like no matter what, people are like, "Oh, I shouldn't be judged by what I look like." I'm like, "But it's marketing." Peanut butter is what is it? Is gluten free. No shit. But now it says gluten free under it and it's $2 more than it was yesterday. And it's the same peanut butter. And people go,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's gluten free." Like it's peanut butter.
Yeah.
Like, it's
But
all
yeah,
marketing.
that's exactly what I mean. I didn't realize how heady, um, other people were about, how they present themselves. It's like, for some, and then I can say this, some of us were groomed by our parents, at a younger age to be very concerned. But like, I was one of those where my parents nitpicked at everything. And
Mhm.
and then that creates an inner voice in your head. Oh, this isn't good enough, that isn't good, so although I wasn't thinking about how I'm selling myself, I was also always thinking about, well, how do I look, so it wasn't necessarily about how I'm selling myself. It's like, do I like
Right.
how I'm presenting myself?
Right.
And then that became more of the focus, because that was the focus my parents gave me on, on being nitpicky. It's like, Kristen,
Mm.
you need to change this, you need to change that, you need to change, and I spent so much time, I was adjusting, that you get so you tired of it that you're like, what, fuck it, I'm just gonna be me,
Yep.
whatever that is, and however I like me, that's when I'm gonna portray. Yeah.
Yep. You got to be you. Everyone else is taken, right?
Exactly. And how does it go? It's best to be an original, not a copy. So
I like that.
best to be everybody else. And then that's when that saying comes in. Everybody else is taken. Yeah. It's like,
Mhm.
exactly. So,
Yeah,
but
I
girl.
heard something that was actually quite a little interesting way to perceive ourselves. And this guy said, imagine incarnating here on earth and you are given this person, this little person to take care of, period. And essentially it's your child, right? Um, but it's you, right? It's this meat sack that we're in.
Mm,
And it's like you have to take care of this. So every morning you wake up, you're taking care of this person. But we're in the meat sack. So we take everything, we put it outwardly, and we take care of everything else that is outside of this person when it should be here. And we
mm,
and we neglect this little person that we were given when we incarnated, because it's kind of just there and it just kind of is. It's like we take it for granted and we don't even pay attention to it, and it just is a thing. It's just there.
mm.
And I was just like, oh, he's like, if you wake up every morning and you tend to yourself as you would your child or a pet. You know what I mean? Because people like put their pets like
Yeah.
up here and then they just don't take care of themselves. That boggles my mind.
Me too.
That boggles my mind. And I'm just like, what? But so, the kind of idea or the perception that is your little, what were those little things? Polly Pockets? Remember those little
Yeah. I
stupid
remember
giga,
the
giga pet,
Gigapets and
giga pet?
Tamagotchis. Tamagotchis.
He's like, yeah, you had to feed it. You had to like feed it.
I
We're
love
taking
those
better
things.
care of these stupid little
I had one. I had a
digital
Tamagotchi.
pets. And we're just like, eating potato chips and you're feeding your little
Oh,
giga
I miss
pet.
those. They
Like,
still have them, I think.
oh my God. I
I
love that.
loved life then. I remember asking for one for Christmas or my birthday, and it was my most prized thing. And you could take it to school too. I'm like,
Yes.
dang it, I gotta turn this thing down. Let me turn this thing down at lunch. I gotta feed it. I remember, God, the 90s, the late 90s and 2000s were great.
Absolutely. I loved my little giga pet. I had a stupid little, it was probably a dog because I don't do cats, but it was probably a dog.
Uh,
And it was a little pink one, a little pink
yeah.
keychain.
With the keychain, yeah. I remember having like a yellow Tamagotchi, yeah. And I remember it like having it being in an egg and being the
Yeah.
shape of an egg and stuff. Girl, that shit was like my most prized possession. That I mean,
And you
those
took good
little,
care of it, didn't you?
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was fun. It was a good lesson on how to take care of my stuff.
I don't think I didn't get obviously too much of a lesson. I can't even do house plants, but
I'm
yeah.
still working on mine too. I am still working.
But you've kept a child alive. I I don't have this is the only plant that I have.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's my little Lego something or other. I don't know. But like yeah, when it comes to remembering to feed things and water things, and I had a I had a dog, a puppy for a week, and I forgot that it had to eat. Like, yeah,
Oh,
it was
hey,
just not good.
everything is not for everybody.
It was not good. Yeah, and I learned. My mom was like, "We'll have you, fed the dog," and I'm like, "Oh, I forgot. Like, my bad. I was a kid." I was 23. You'd think I'd have the wherewithal to feed an animal, but I was having too much fun playing with him, and but
Oh,
yeah.
oh, that's so sweet though.
Yeah, he
You
was
know?
cool. I had to give him away, but
Oh,
anyway, so we're actually almost running out of time. We have like 5 minutes left. Any final tidbits other than Tamagotchis and and Gigapets?
you know, so much of this journey, just to circle back, is really about learning how to take care of yourself the best. And
Mm-hmm.
and as much as you may love somebody else unconditionally, the the lesson really seems like, if you're on this, divine counterpart journey, it's so much about reflecting on what you really need from you. And oftentimes we end up like really harping on the stuff that we feel is a weakness and what we don't do well enough. And like how I was saying, how I was
Yeah.
so like heavily criticized when I was younger, and not even just when I was younger, even into my adult life, that I had to block out everybody else's noise and just let my voice always be the loudest. Even when it came to my so-called twin flame, who was my mirror, who I felt was me in another body,
Right.
you know, I still had moments where I had to really go within, that my voice is the most important one that matters. I got to wake up with me, even regardless of what this person is doing, what they're doing to me, or what I feel that they're doing to me.
Yeah.
What am I doing? What am I doing for me? How am I going to stay, healthy? How am I going to stay mentally strong? How am I going to stay spiritually strong and physically strong? And you end up neglecting some of that along the way, as kind of, I think, a means to show you how important it is to never neglect yourself, and especially when you've met somebody who you feel that should be a part of your life and a part of your soul. Like you want to integrate them into it's hard to describe. You want them around. You want
Yeah.
them with you. They feel like
Yeah.
they're a part of you. And then when they're away, it's just so painful to be without them, like a piece, like it's a puzzle piece from your inside that's missing, that you feel
Yeah.
you need. Almost like that Tamagotchi or that Gigapet. When you got it, you were so attached to it, like it's my keychain. It's with me. I need to feed it. I need to be with it. I need to make sure it's okay. And
Yep.
it's just a thing. But
Yep.
I mean, this journey can remind you that, not to forget about yourself. And
Absolutely.
and oftentimes, that other person isn't, or can also not be caring about you the way that you may feel that you need to be cared for. So then it makes you rise more and makes you pay
Mhm.
attention to what your needs truly are, and it makes you see them more clearly and answer them, instead of, waiting for somebody else to meet you there.
Yeah.
So it is a very empowering, you know, reality where you're able to really see, the parts of yourself that need to be fulfilled more. So I definitely have grown and more into an adult person, a less codependent, more
Absolutely.
interdependent, person
Yep.
where I feel whole with or
Yes.
without them, you
My
know.
emotional quotient before I got on this journey was
Hmm.
emotion Emotional Intelligence 2.0 was the book that I started reading, and I took the test and I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, that's not good." And it was pretty bad. So that's actually a book I always recommend, and it really kind of helps put into perspective what having emotional intelligence means, because so many people lack it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they also lack accountability, which is like the biggest epidemic, I think, on this planet.
Yeah.
Lack of love, self-love, lack of accountability.
Yeah.
And I think, they go hand in hand and work together. But yeah, all that to say, absolutely. This journey has taught me how to love myself. And I thought I did before. I did not
Mm.
at all. I thought I did because I was like, of course I love myself. No, you're arrogant because you're insecure. And that was
Oh,
what it was. It wasn't me loving myself. It was, I was full of shit. And I just put on airs to just make everyone think I was fine. But I had no clue anyway. So, but we can touch on that on the next episode. But anywho, um, it was lovely as always, and our time's about to run out. So until next time, Angela and Kristen, and finding, I almost said Neverland, finding Nirvana
finding Nirvana within, really.
within.
Yeah.
Exactly. So until then, yeah, we gotta find like a sign off phrase that we gotta figure that out anyway. But thank you again. I love you dearly, and yeah, until next time.
All right.